Chapter 21 The God of Martial Ancestor is lame again. Please recommend and collect. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Man, you got no honor. That was a cheap shot. Zhou Douluo was fuming. A titled Douluo, an elder of the spirit hall, getting his clothes sliced by some kid with a sword. Mortifying. The rumor mill was going to have a field day with this. Zhou Douluo, the guy with no shame. His 9 spirit rings flared as rage coursed through him. He wanted to tear Zhou Yi a new one and set the record straight. Flower, you want a piece of this? Step right up. Sword Douluo planted himself in front of Zhou Douluo, his own 9 rings blazing. Zhou Douluo's stomach dropped. Sure, their spirit power levels were neck and neck, but raw power? They weren't even in the same ballpark, one-on-one. Sword Douluo would wipe the floor with him. When it came to attack power, Sword Douluo was in a league of his own among titled Douluo. The sword emblazoned on the spirit hall's holy order, Qian Xunji spirit, was a representation of the 7 treasure glazed tile school. Elder Zhu, cool it. Zhou Yi's not even in your weight class. That attack was just him testing some sword theory, catching you by surprise. No harm, no foul, right? Bibi Dong chimed in. Zhou Yi's sword strike had been shockingly powerful, way beyond what she'd imagined. Still, she couldn't believe Zhou Yi could actually take on a titled Douluo. Qian Xunji and the others felt the same. They all figured Zhou Douluo had just been caught flat-footed and paid the price. Truth was, Zhou Yi had only used about a third of his sword's true potential. He'd just swung, letting the sword's power do the work. He hadn't even bothered with the killer move that could cleave the world in two. Otherwise, Zhou Douluo wouldn't just be standing there, embarrassed, with a scratch on his chest. He'd be flat on his back. Alright, kid, I'll let it slide for the saint's sake. But next time, let's do this the right way. Zhou Douluo saw an out and took it. He didn't want to piss off Bibi Dong, the genius saint. More importantly, Zhou Yi's sword hadn't seriously hurt him, but some weird sword energy was still buzzing inside him, messing him up. He figured he was only at 60 or 70% against Sword Douluo. He'd get pulverized. Regardless of what that kid was saying before, his swordsmanship is insane. He might actually be on Sword Douluo's level. Zhou Douluo was secretly spooked. He might have been acting dismissive, but he was now paying 100% attention to Zhou Yi. A fair fight? Flower, I can't believe you just said that. Sword Douluo scoffed. You're a titled Douluo. You're calling out a soul grandmaster for a serious fight? Get real. If that had been any other soul grandmaster, they'd be 6 feet under right now. You think you could have blocked that sword? Qian Xunji was now a full-blown Zhou Yi fanboy. Before, he'd only been impressed by Zhou Yi's theories on swordsmanship. Now, Zhou Yi had shown a terrifying mastery of the sword. If he wasn't already 70 years old and a powerful titled Douluo, he would have begged Zhou Yi to take him as a disciple, but he wasn't Yu Shaojiang. He was Sword Douluo. Even if he was obsessed with swordsmanship, he couldn't just start worshipping some 20-year-old soul grandmaster. Still, he was calling Zhou Yi Mr. Zhou now. That said a lot about what Zhou Yi meant to him. Whatever. It was just a sucker punch. Zhou Douluo grumbled. In his heart, though, he knew that if Zhou Yi had hit a regular soul grandmaster with that attack, they would have been split in half. He huffed, crossed his arms, and stood behind Bibi Dong, stretching his neck like he didn't care. He just wanted to be left alone. Actually, he missed the old ghost. Clang, star. Zhou Yi resheathed his sword. It was just an ordinary iron blade, the one he used for practice. He had a spirit weapon, sure. But using a spirit weapon drained spirit power. You couldn't just swing around with your spirit weapon all the time when you were practicing. Besides, a real iron sword felt different from the spirit weapon. Mr. Zhou, you're a master of swordsmanship and a master of the spirit. Listening to you is worth 100 years of reading. Sword Douluo approached Zhou Yi with a humble air. Zhou Yi's previous insights into swordsmanship had been a revelation. He'd gotten so much out of it. Sword Douluo continued to pick Zhou Yi's brain about the art of the sword. Ning Fengji felt like he was intruding. What shocked him the most was, Sword Douluo was acting like a kid in school, listening to a lecture. It was completely blowing his mind. Sword Douluo was usually so aloof and indifferent, if he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he'd swear it was an imposter. Zhou Lang is incredible. Even Sword Douluo is impressed. Bibi Dong watched Zhou Yi lecturing Sword Douluo, her eyes shining with admiration. He really was everything she hoped for, he was just awesome. Dong only has her master in her eyes. The second dragon is also. Yu Xiaojiang risked a quick peek at Bibi Dong's beautiful face. Then, he looked away, burying his heartbreak and silently memorizing Zhou Yi's words. He was busy perfecting Zhou Yi's theories. That was his assignment. Once he was done, they'd be released to benefit the world of spirit masters, of course. That came with a price. Previous Zhou Yi theories included the first Zhou Yi theory on spirits, outlining the 18 core competencies of spirits, and the second Zhou Yi theory on the mind, which stated that as big as your heart is, that's as big as your stage will be, meaning mortals could rival gods. Now, Yu Xiaojiang felt like he could add another chapter, Zhou Yi's theory on swordsmanship. In the future, Zhou Yi's theories might become required reading in every Spirit Master Academy. As the organizer and editor, Yu Xiaojiang could be remembered in history forever. So, Yu Xiaojiang was motivated and focused. Zhou Yi was pleased. He got to sleep with his goddess every night, and he had Yu Xiaojiang doing all the work so he could spend more time sleeping with his goddess. Perfect. And Zhou Yi didn't just ask Yu Xiaojiang to compile the theories of Zhou Yi for money or to show off. He also wanted Tang San and the others to see him in the textbooks when they went to school. It was all part of his master plan. Sure, he had a system, but he didn't know if he could actually become a god without divine help. Zhou Yi wasn't going to sit around and wait. He didn't need to use a god's power, but he needed to be able to. Zhou Yi wasn't interested in inheriting the power of some garbage god in the god realm. He wanted to forge a divine position unlike any other, martial ancestor. That position would be way above Poseidon's, even stronger than the god king. Even if Zhou Yi didn't need it, he could pass it down to his wives or kids. Best to be prepared, but forging a god's position required faith. Poseidon needed to be recognized by all the creatures of the sea before he could become Poseidon. If Zhou Yi wanted to become martial ancestor, he'd need to gather the power of thousands of creatures on the Douluo Continent. He already had a plan in motion. No need to rush things. He had plenty of time. Zhou Yi and Sword Douluo were nearly done with their discussion. Zhou Yi said slowly. The path of the sword isn't about stealing spirit rings and spirit bones from spirit beasts. It's about relying on yourself. How can you rely on yourself with no guidance, no manuals to study? I know a sword story. There was an ordinary shepherdess who knew nothing about swordsmanship or spirit skills. She was just a normal person. One day, a white ape showed up, looking for trouble, and the shepherdess chased it off with her staff. But this ape was strong. As they fought, the shepherdess's skills changed, unknowingly growing more powerful. Without even realizing it, she learned from nature and developed a natural sword style. It was invincible against thousands of soldiers, a single sword strike like 1,000,000 men. Or another. He watched the tides of Dongting Lake, learned from heaven and earth, and created the rain-covering sword, shattering the void. If you have no teacher, then heaven and earth will be your teacher. Sword Douluo Continent was stunned, his head buzzing. Zhou Yi's words were like thunder, sending shockwaves through his soul. The sword of nature, a single sword strike like 1,000,000 men. Watching Dongting Lake, creating the rain-covering sword, shattering the void. Sword Douluo Continent felt his soul transforming. He'd found his goal, his path. He saw a great avenue of swordsmanship opening before him. The Tao shouldn't be shared lightly. Zhou Yi was being so generous, giving everything away. His selflessness was inspiring. Qian Xunji finally abandoned his ego and his thirst for fame. He wanted to be a real swordsman, so, he made a shocking decision. He wanted to learn from Zhou Yi. He stood up, walked respectfully to Zhou Yi, and bowed deeply. I've wandered all my life, and my only regret is never finding a true master. If you'll have me, sir, I wish to be your disciple. Chapter 22 Sword Douluo becomes a disciple and prepares to marry Ah Yin. Please collect it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I've been wandering for half my life, and my only regret is never having met a true master. If you're willing to accept me, sir, I'd be honored to be your student. Qian Xian's voice rang out, clear and strong, and a hush fell over the room, complete silence. Zhou Douluo's eyes bugged out. His jaw dropped, he couldn't believe what he'd just heard. Luo Qinshin, the level 95 Sword Douluo, wanted to become a disciple of Zhou Yi, a level 30 soul master. That's just crazy. Uncle Chen, please, think this through. Ning Fengji was stunned and quickly tried to talk him out of it. Qian Xian was the foundation of his 7 treasure glazed tile school, a pillar of strength and one of its 2 guardian deities. The 7 treasure glazed tile schools ranking among the top sects wasn't just because of their incredible support type spirit. It was also due to the strength of its 2 title Douluo, Qian Xian and Gu Rong, and now, Qian Xian wanted to apprentice himself to Zhou Yi. Unthinkable. My mind is made up. Qian Xian glanced at Ning Fengji, his voice firm, then turned his gaze to Zhou Yi. Sir, please accept me. Am I seeing things? Sword Douluo wants to be Zhou Yi's disciple. Flender's eyes nearly popped out of his head, and he was freaking out inside. The world's gone nuts. Yu Xiaojiang wanting to be a disciple was one thing, but now, a title Douluo, a Sword Douluo famous for his attack power, was throwing himself at Zhou Yi's feet. I'm losing it. The only one who wasn't surprised was Yu Xiaojiang. He was practically a Zhou Yi fanboy. In his eyes, his teacher was a genius, a fount of wisdom. His cultivation might not be as high as Qian Xian's, but he was more than qualified to be his teacher. Wisdom was what truly mattered. That's what Yu Xiaojiang admired most. It was the only thing he'd ever been proud of. Zhou Yi looked at Sword Douluo Qian Xian, saw his determination, and said, in that case, I accept. Your disciple greets you, teacher. Qian Xian beamed and bowed. Ning Fengji passed out. Zhou Yi told Qian Xian to take Ning Fengji to get some rest. Zhou Yi, congratulations on your new disciple. Bibi Dong stared at Zhou Yi intently, her gaze burning as if she was trying to figure him out. She still couldn't believe that Zhou Yi had actually accepted Sword Douluo as his student. Now that he'd taken Sword Douluo under his wing, Zhou Yi's standing had skyrocketed. When the news got out, it would send shockwaves across the continent. Bibi Dong didn't linger and left with Zhou Douluo, who was still reeling. Your disciple greets you, teacher. Seeing everyone leave, Yu Xiaojiang walked up to Zhou Yi, bowed, and exclaimed, Teacher's theories on swordsmanship and cultivation have been truly enlightening, and I've learned so much. Zhou Yi smiled and said to Yu Xiaojiang, Xiaojiang, your timing is perfect. I'm marrying Ah Yin in 2 weeks. Could you help me with the invitations and other preparations? Yes, teacher. Congratulations, teacher, what a blessing. Yu Xiaojiang smiled, but his heart was heavy. His goddess had married Zhou Yi not long ago, and he didn't seem to appreciate her. Now, he was marrying Ah Yin. Flander's face turned green when he heard that his dream girl, the one he could never have, was not enough for Zhou Yi. After marrying her, he was now marrying someone else. It was outrageous. If he were the one to marry his beloved goddess, he would spend his entire life cherishing her. How could he even think about marrying someone else? If he thought he could take Zhou Yi, he would punch his handsome face and turn it into a pig's head. Yu Xiaojiang went to take care of the invitations. Zhou Yi went to Lu Erlong's room. She was still a little sore from the night before. Zhou Yi sat on the edge of the bed, pulled Lu Erlong's curvy body into his arms, and said with concern, Are you feeling any better? Should I give you some more medicine? No way. Lu Erlong rolled her eyes at Zhou Yi and eyed him suspiciously. If he gave her more medicine, she wouldn't be able to move for days. Erlong, you're so beautiful. Zhou Yi kissed her on the cheek and told her that he was planning to marry Ah Yin in 2 weeks. Whatever you think is best. Lu Erlong snuggled up to Zhou Yi. She'd been expecting it and wasn't going to object. Erlong, you're the best. Zhou Yi was always generous with sweet words because he knew she liked them. Smooth talker. Lu Erlong leaned into Zhou Yi's arms. Sensing that he was getting excited, she quickly pushed him away and made him leave. After spending so much time together, she knew what to expect. Alright, I'm going. Zhou Yi didn't push it. He leaned down for a quick kiss and said with a smile, I'll be back tonight. After leaving Lu Erlong's room, Zhou Yi went to see Ah Yin. she was wearing a long blue and gold dress that showed off her elegant figure. Her luxurious presence only added to her extraordinary beauty, which made Zhou Yi's heart skip a beat. He pulled her into his arms, rested his head on her shoulder, breathed in her sweet scent, and said softly, "Ah Yin, if everything goes well, I'll marry you in 2 weeks. Okay." Ah Yin lowered her head shyly, her heart filled with happiness, even though she was already his and she was a soul beast, but now, she was no different from a human. Deep down, she still wanted a wedding. Tang Hao and Tang Hao from the Yin sect came to see you yesterday. Ah Yin grabbed his hands that were wandering everywhere and looked at him with her flawless blue eyes. They didn't see you, but they saw me. Ah Yin told him about her encounter with the Tang brothers. Yeah, I know, Zhou Yi nodded, looking at how good, beautiful, and elegant Ah Yin was, and couldn't help but start. Ah Yin had no choice but to give in to Zhou Yi's advances. Meanwhile, Ning Fengji was slowly waking up from his faint, but he still couldn't believe that Qian Xunji had become Zhou Yi's disciple. It was absurd, it was ridiculous, it was the most ridiculous thing in the world. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he never would have believed that Sword Douluo would become a disciple of Zhou Yi, a mere soul master. Uncle Chen, are you really going to take Zhou Yi as your teacher? Ning Fengji asked skeptically. Becoming a disciple is not something you can take lightly. Qian Xunji frowned and said, Zhou Yi is already my teacher. I don't want to hear anything like that again. Yes. Ning Fengji sighed inwardly and didn't dare to argue further. The die was cast, he could only wait and see. He just hoped that Qian Xunji hadn't made a mistake. Qian Xunji stood by the window, his hands behind his back, his eyes distant. It wasn't like him to make rash decisions about such things. He'd made the decision after careful consideration. He was already a powerful titled Douluo in his 70s. He was past the age of being impulsive. He glanced at Ning Fengji, who was trying not to be rude, but his face was filled with skepticism. He turned his head and continued to look out the window, and suddenly said, Are you still confused? Yes. Ning Fengji said without hesitation, although Zhou Yi is capable, he's not qualified to be Uncle Chen's teacher. Chapter 23 The 99th level Peerless Douluo sends a wedding invitation to Tang Hao. Please Colonel. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When Qian Xunji heard this, without turning around, he muttered, My father was a peak Douluo, level 97. He reached that level at 108, but that year, he met his ultimate opponent, also his strongest. He lost. A damn shame. And that opponent was a level 99 powerhouse. Ning Fengji's eyes widened. Level 99. That's the absolute pinnacle of title Douluo. Scratch that, that's the pinnacle of the entire Douluo Continent. Seriously scary. Before he passed, my father told me about the power gap between title Douluos after level 95. Once a soul master's power exceeds level 95, that's a major dividing line. Each level after that is on a completely different playing field. Ning Fengji listened intently. He was only in his 20s, title Douluo felt a lifetime away, and while his 7-treasure glazed tile pagoda spirit was the most renowned support spirit, its limitations meant he'd never break through Soul Saint, let alone Soul Douluo. 79 was his ceiling, so he knew little about title Douluos, especially the secrets of those above level 95. Between 91 and 95, while the soul power gap is noticeable, it can be overcome with superior martial spirit quality, soul bones, or skills. But that changes at 96. Qian Xunji seemed to be talking to himself. Level 96 soul power is 20% stronger than level 95. What? 20%? Ning Fengji was stunned. Both were titled Douluos, but a 96th level Douluo was that much stronger. That's like a flat 20% power boost, in a fight. The 96th level could completely dominate the 95th. Yup. 20%. Qian Xunji confirmed, that can't be overcome by martial spirit quality, regular soul skills, or soul bones. Unless one side's soul skills are drastically better, the 96th level title Douluo should wipe the floor with the 95th. And to advance from 95 to 96 isn't just about accumulating power, you have to understand something. If you don't get it, you'll never break through. 97 is 20% stronger than 96, 98 is 30% stronger than 97, and 99 is 40% stronger than 98. Ning Fengji, deep in thought, seemed to get it. Uncle Chen, could Zhou Yi help you understand that and level up? Exactly, Chen Xian nodded. My teacher's a master swordsman and a brilliant scholar. Hearing his swordsmanship lessons sparked something in me. I'm certain I'll hit 96 in, 2 weeks tops. Chen Xian valued Zhou Yi's swordsmanship above all else. He was confident he could reach 96 or even 97 eventually, but without a miracle, 98 or 99 were pipe dreams. He wanted to surpass his father and beat the level 99 guy who'd taken him down, impossible before, but Zhou Yi gave him hope. That's why he decided to become Zhou Yi's student, of course. He also admired Zhou Yi's character, guts, swordsmanship, and knowledge. I see. Ning Fengji finally understood. Now, Sword Douluo becoming Zhou Yi's apprentice made sense. He'd probably do the same thing. Congrats, Uncle Chen, on your upcoming breakthrough. Ning Fengji happily congratulated him. Even 96 is a long way from 99. Chen Xian was grounded. Uncle Chen, what's the difference between 99 and 100? Ning Fengji asked, curious. I don't know. Maybe such legendary figures existed, but no one left behind instructions. Even Chen Xian's usually calm eyes showed a hint of longing. My father reached title Douluo at 68, 95 at 78, 96 at 88, and didn't hit 97 until 108. And that 99 level master spent 30 years trying to bridge the gap to 100, but couldn't crack it. He guessed that the power difference between 199 was over 100%, and there might be a 10th soul ring. Ning Fengji went silent. Every soul master wants a shot at the top, right? But Chen Xian made it clear how impossibly hard it was, 0 chance for him. Uncle Chen, with Mr. Zhou's help, maybe you'll get a glimpse of level 100. Ning Fengji suggested. Maybe. Experience +1. Experience +1. Experience +1. Zhou Yi had no clue his little scheme to trick Sword Douluo had such a big effect. After bullying Ah Yin for an hour, Zhou Yi, looking pleased with himself, grabbed his belt and left the room. With that face of his, he looked like a total player. He wrote Tang Hao and Tang Hao's names on 2 invitations and then strutted over to their hotel. Brother Zhou. Tang Hao and Tang Hao weren't surprised to see him. They tried visiting Zhou Yi yesterday, but he wasn't around. It made sense Zhou Yi would come by. Brother Zhou, come on in. Tang Hao invited him inside. Brothers Hao, we just got back and were swamped. Sorry about that. Zhou Yi said, smiling. Don't worry about it, Brother Zhou. We were the ones intruding. Tang Hao quickly replied. As the Haotian twins, they were sad Ah Yin was with Zhou Yi, but she wasn't their responsibility. They couldn't control what happened to her. No reason to be mad at Zhou Yi. Even if they were salty, they wouldn't show it. That was the discipline of a big family. Brothers Hao, perfect timing. I promised you a drink, and now's as good a time as any. Zhou Yi grinned, pulled out 2 red invites, and handed them over. Ah Yin and I are getting married in 2 weeks. You guys gotta come celebrate. Holding the invitations, Tang Hao and Tang Hao felt like their hearts were being ripped out. Even though Ah Yin had told them about her relationship with Zhou Yi, they'd still held out a tiny bit of hope, but now, snap. The last shred of fantasy was gone. Tang Hao wanted to refuse, but thinking of Ah Yin, he took the invitation. We'll be there. Tang Hao stayed silent. No acceptance, no rejection, maybe. They just wanted to see Ah Yin, like those simp guys who went to their crush's wedding. Awesome. Zhou Yi smiled, didn't linger, and left after handing them the invites. He didn't have time for their feelings. Weren't Ah Yin and Air Long fun enough? Zhou Yi left. The devastated brothers were left alone in the room. A sad, quiet melody seemed to play in the air. Your wedding invitation is my ticket to the show. You're asking me to raise a glass, and all I can do is break down. Chapter 24 Qian Xunji, use Bibi Dong to catch Zhou Yi. Please collect. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Words out, Zhou Yi's tying the knot again. And get this, Mr. Zhou's taken on another apprentice. But this ain't no Yu Xiaojiang type, it's freaking Sword Douluo himself. Seriously? The Sword Douluo is gonna apprentice under Zhou Yi? I swear it's true. My aunt's nephew's cousin's wife's brother lives in Notting City. The whole town's buzzing about it. Man, Zhou Yi is on a roll. A new wife and a top-tier apprentice. He's living the dream. I heard the woman Mr. Zhou's marrying this time might not be famous, but she's supposed to be drop-dead gorgeous, even hotter than Mrs. Liu. Wow. Hotter than Mrs. Liu. Zhou Yi's one lucky dude. I'm telling you, Zhou Yi's luck turned around the minute he married Mrs. Liu. Maybe she's his good luck charm. Has to be. The night of their wedding, his garbage-tier martial spirit turned into a dragon sword. The next day, he comes up with that whole psychic power theory. Day after that, he takes Yu Xiaojiang as his apprentice. And now, he's got Sword Douluo bowing down to him and he's about to marry a knockout. Total win. Yeah, Mrs. Liu's definitely bringing the good vibes. She's a dragon lady, man. I heard Zhou Yi's martial spirit changed because it absorbed dragon energy. It went through some serious refining and dragon blood tempering before it transformed. Never thought I'd see a powerhouse like Sword Douluo become Zhou Yi's student. What kind of voodoo does Zhou Yi have? What's his secret? Rumor has it, Mr. Zhou's swordsmanship is practically divine, and Sword Douluo is obsessed with swords. He was so blown away by Mr. Zhou's skills that he begged to be his apprentice. No way, right? Zhou Yi's been creating soul skills since he was a kid, and he's known for his 13 life-destroying swords, but better than Sword Douluo? Impossible. Don't knock it till you try it. Word is, Mr. Zhou knocked a title Douluo on his butt with a single sword strike. No way. That's gotta be BS. Total exaggeration. Nah, it's true. They say Zhou Yi didn't just knock him down, he hurt him too, all because of his swordsmanship. Yeah right. Pull the other one. Do you even know what a title Douluo is? Of course, I know what a title Douluo is. But do you know how awesome Mr. Zhou is? Just wait, the news is gonna spread like wildfire. Then you'll see. The story of Zhou Yi marrying and taking Sword Douluo Qian as his apprentice spread faster than gossip from Notting City. At first, everyone thought it was a load of baloney, but as more and more people started confirming it, the unbelievable became slightly more believable. Of course, there were still plenty of doubters who wanted to see Zhou Yi for themselves and figure out what all the fuss was about. While the general public and run-of-the-mill soul masters were losing their minds. The big players were getting the real story. Spirit Hall, Pope Qian Xunji was speechless after reading the report from Zhou Douluo Yueguan and Saint Bibi Dong. His first thought was, no freaking way. It was just too absurd. A proud warrior like Sword Douluo Qian wouldn't become Zhou Yi's disciple, but he knew Zhou Douluo Yueguan and Saint Bibi Dong wouldn't lie about something like this. They wouldn't dare, plus, if it were a lie, it would be exposed in a heartbeat. There'd be no point, so, Sword Douluo Qian really did become Zhou Yi's student. Qian Xunji kept reading. Zhou Douluo's report was detailed, including the conversation between Zhou Yi and Qian Xunji. The energy of the sword stretches across 30,000 miles, and the light of one sword is cold across 19 states. The God of Sword. The sword is a sword, I am me. The sword is not a sword, I am not myself. If you are true to the sword will not let me down. If you are true to the sword, only if you can enter the way of the sword and be true to others can you achieve the truth, the ruthless sword. Only when you are strong in love can you be strong in swords, the sword of love. The sword demon Dugu seeks defeat, sharp sword, soft sword, heavy sword, wooden sword, no sword is better than a sword. Learn from heaven and earth, look at Dongting Lake and realize the rain-covering sword, look at nature and realize the sword of nature. 3,000 more armors are invincible, one sword has once served as a master to millions. Qian Xunji's eyes widened in shock. He wasn't a swordsman himself, but as a powerful title Douluo, he could feel the power behind those words. There's something to this. The references to Douluo Continent and the others were lost on Qian Xunji. With the Spirit Hall's resources, the fact that he'd never heard of these people meant they probably didn't exist. In other words, Douluo Continent was just a metaphor, a parable. The ruthless swordsman was Zhou Yi, so was the sentimental swordsman. These were just Zhou Yi's insights on swordsmanship. I thought I was giving Zhou Yi as much credit as possible, but I was still underestimating him. I underestimated him by a lot. I knew he'd created his own soul skills, the 13 life-destroying swords, but I didn't realize how profound his swordsmanship was. Now I can see why Qian Xian would become Zhou Yi's student. After level 95, leveling up isn't just about building soul power. It's about understanding. It makes sense for Qian Xian to study under someone like Zhou Yi, whose grasp of swordsmanship is so deep and mysterious. As the Pope of Spirit Hall and a title Douluo, Qian Xunji suddenly understood why Qian Xian became Zhou Yi's disciple. Now that Qian Xian is Zhou Yi's student, Zhou Yi's relationship with the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile School just got stronger. At least he didn't join them, Qian Xunji thought to himself. He'd never considered killing Zhou Yi, he just didn't want Zhou Yi to become an enemy of the Spirit Hall. Now that he was getting more famous, killing him would hurt the Spirit Hall's reputation. No need for that. Dong is close to Zhou Yi. If she married him, maybe we could bring him over. Qian Xunji's mind raced. Of course, if Zhou Yi wanted to marry Bibi Dong, he'd have to join the Spirit Hall, otherwise, forget it. As a peerless genius with twin martial souls, Bibi Dong would never leave the Spirit Hall. She belonged to Spirit Hall, in life and death. But there's no rush. Let's wait and see what happens. Zhou Yi was a genius, sure, but he was still just a soul master. In the end, it all came down to power. Right now, Qian Xunji could crush Zhou Yi with any title Douluo he sent. He wasn't about to get too worried about Zhou Yi. As for Zhou Douluo getting smacked around, Qian Xunji figured he just wasn't paying attention. No defense. Besides, Zhou Douluo wasn't seriously hurt. Actually, he was seriously hurt, and it would take him at least 2 weeks to get rid of the sword intent left in his body. But Zhou Douluo was a title Douluo. He didn't want to look bad, so he kept his mouth shut. Naturally, nobody knew he was hurt. That could lead to trouble later for anyone with bad intentions. Qian Xunji, Zhuaguan, you dog. Chapter 25 Tang Yuehua. Strength surges, the wedding day comes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Blue Lightning Overlord Sect, one of the top 3 sects among the 7 major sects on Douluo Continent, centered around the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon family, making them one of the most powerful families around. The sect's disciples wield the formidable Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon spirit. With their dragon-like strength and mastery of lightning, they've earned the title of the best beast spirit, respected even by the Spirit Hall. Meanwhile, in the sect's main hall, Patriarch Yuehua was stunned by a message from Zhou Yi. I can't believe Zhou Yi's swordsmanship is so impressive. Even Sword Douluo is willing to become his student. Yuehua hadn't taken Zhou Yi seriously, viewing him as another Yu Shaojiang. Even with Zhou Yi's successful martial spirit mutation, he remained unconcerned, but now that Sword Douluo Qianxin is studying under Zhou Yi, that changes everything. He at least has to pay attention now. Lu Erlong is the illegitimate daughter of my estranged second brother. He might not care, but we have that connection, so let him handle it. Yuehua decided his second brother, Yu Luo Mian, should prepare 2 gifts, one for Lu Erlong and one for Zhou Yi, as a wedding present. Haotian sect, another of the 3 top sects among Douluo Continent's 7 major powers, rising to number 1 under the leadership of the peerless level 99 Douluo, Tang Chen. The sect is dominated by the Tang family, inheriting the world's most powerful weapon, the Haotian hammer. When Tang Chen left to pursue godhood, his son Tang Hao became the sect leader. Tang Hao has 2 sons and 1 daughter, Tang Xiao, Tang Hao, and Tang Yuehua. Tang Xiao and Tang Hao are both incredibly gifted, known as the Haotian twins. Tang Yuehua, like Yu Shaojiang, suffered a mutation. Her clear sky hammer turned into a wish-fulfilling ring, capping her soul power at level 9, preventing her from ever becoming a true soul master. However, her Rui Ring spirit possesses a unique talent, the noble circle, enhancing her aristocratic aura. Though lacking combat ability, she thrives in high society. Sword Douluo Continent actually taking Zhou Yi as a teacher. I didn't realize Zhou Yi, despite his low cultivation level, was such a terrifying swordsman. Tang Hao, after reading about Zhou Yi's sword duel with Qian Xunji, was both shocked and amazed. That kid's got something special. That spirit mutation turned him from a carp into a dragon. Since we can't recruit him, building a good relationship and making friends is the next best thing. Luckily, Tang Hao, and Zhou Yi seem to get along. Tang Hao planned to send a congratulatory gift. Father, why not let me go? Tang Yuehua volunteered, dressed in an elegant silver gown, radiating grace and beauty, making her all the more striking. You. Tang Hao considered, knowing Tang Hao and Tang Xiao were in Notting City, and Tang Yuehua was a skilled communicator, her noble circle talent especially made her easy to like. Alright, Tang Hao agreed. Though Tang Yuehua lacked strength, she wasn't going to fight. He would send a soul saint-level guard for protection. Thank you, father. Tang Yuehua's smile lit up her face. She was excited, not just about seeing Tang Hao and Tang Xiao, but because she was curious about Zhou Yi. She wanted to see what kind of man could inspire such awe with his theories of psychic power and his swordsmanship. The core competitiveness of a spirit's 18 major points aside, what happened with the sword fighter? She wanted to see if Zhou Yi was really that good. Word spread fast, the story of Zhou Yi's swordplay with Sword Douluo, taking him as a student, and getting married spread like wildfire across Douluo Continent. Soul masters everywhere were buzzing. To them, titled douyuos were godlike. Yet one had become Zhou Yi's disciple. Everyone was now curious about Zhou Yi, and with Zhou Yi's wedding on the horizon. Soul masters flocked to Notting City. The city's population swelled, more bustling than even the soul master's holy land, Wuhuan City. Meanwhile, Zhou Yi wasn't idle. He has Ah Yin and Lu Erlong to spend time with. He hasn't had any spare time. As for the wedding planning, Zhou Yi just offered remote guidance, leaving the details to Yu Xiaojiang, Zhang Long, Zhao Hu, and his other disciples. After all, what were apprentices for? Especially Yu Xiaojiang. The more Yu Xiaojiang did, the more free time Zhou Yi had to take care of Lu Erlong and A Yin. He was working hard to get them pregnant, sweating it out. April 14th. The wedding was just a day away. Zhou Yi mostly stayed in his yard, tea brewing nearby, lounging on a custom-made rocking chair, soaking up the early spring sun. He felt completely relaxed. The rocking motion seemed to melt away all the tension, leaving him feeling lazy and content. Ah, this is the life. Zhou Yi drifted between sleep and wakefulness, his mind empty. Ah Yin, blushing, finished cleaning and came out of the room, glancing at Zhou Yi, who looked relaxed as a great gentleman. She grabbed another rocking chair and set it up next to his, settling in comfortably. She's done this before. After a while, Lu Erlong also moved a rocking chair and lay down on Zhou Yi's other side. Zhou Yi opened his eyes and glanced at their figures and faces, feeling fulfilled. As for guilt, having just romped with Ah Yin, he felt pure of heart. Ah Yin and Lu Erlong both looked at Zhou Yi. None of them spoke. Silence spoke volumes. Quiet, peaceful, good, beauty everywhere, perfect weather. Zhou Yi closed his eyes and checked his status panel. Host, Zhou Yi, age, 22. Cultivation, Soul Master, level 36, Wuhuan, Dragon Sword, Kung Fu, Sacred Heart Technique, 201/50,000, Soul Skills, Glimpses, 520 years, so close to the end of the world, 1001 years, Gravity Field, 4000 years, Skills, 14 Deadly Swords, Perfect, Grandmaster Medical Skills, Perfect, Immortal Steps, 152/5000, One Sword to Transcend the World, 111/10,000, Heavenly Palace Phantom, 152/5000. Soul Bone, Wind and Thunder Wings, External Attachment, Special, Wheel Turning Technique, Backpack, Eternal Heart, for Absolutes of the Sacred Heart, for Tribulations of the Sacred Heart, 7 Impossible Situations, Nahai Sacred Heart Curse, Experience Value, 4502. In just 2 weeks, Zhou Yi's strength had increased dramatically, all thanks to the enlightenment pill Ah Yin gave him. After taking it, Zhou Yi had not only mastered the sacred heart art, but also perfected the one sword to transcend the world technique, and made significant progress in the immortal steps and heavenly palace phantom skills. Reaching master status in the sacred heart technique also sped up his training. If the starting sacred heart technique was a motor, reaching master was a diesel engine. His soul power jumped from level 31 to 36 in no time. Though his cultivation level wasn't high, his skills had improved, especially the one sword to transcend the world, but it uses a lot of energy. He can only do it once, but that one sword, earth-shattering, could kill a titled Douluo. With Zhou Yi's help, Lu Erlong had also reached level 39, close to becoming a soul sect. The sun began to set, a cool evening breeze blew. Zhou Yi got up and had dinner with A Yin and Lu Erlong. After finalizing everything for tomorrow, he went to Lu Erlong's room. The wedding would be tomorrow night, and he would be with the bride, A Yin. The night was silent, things were crazy. The next day, Zhou Yi had to use the Holy Heart Qi to heal Lu Erlong. The Sacred Heart Qi worked wonders, as good as a healing soul master. Honey, you're amazing. You can even be a support-type soul master. Lu Erlong's eyes widened in admiration. She didn't know Zhou Yi had healing powers. He was always giving her medicine, so this was a first. You're the only one who knows how amazing I am. Zhou Yi smiled and got up with Lu Erlong's help. Today was the big day for marrying Ah Yin. He had a lot to do. I wonder if Xiao Haozi will come to the wedding. Zhou Yi thought of Tang Hao. Your wife is in good hands. The new book is out. Everyone please support me. Chapter 26 Tang Hao tearfully sends blessings to the beautiful bride A Yin, third update. You are listening at novelfull.audio. April 15th. It was Zhou Yi and A Yin's wedding day. Soul masters from everywhere flocked to Nodding City. The town was buzzing, more alive than anyone had ever seen. Zhou's mansion hosted a huge banquet, with Zhou Yi booking out every restaurant in Nodding City. Yu Xiaojiang, Zhang Long, Zhao Hu, and the other disciples were run off their feet. Sword Douluo Qianxin was in charge of security, a necessary precaution with so many different kinds of soul masters around. Without a strong deterrent, someone was bound to cause trouble. But with Sword Douluo standing guard, nobody dared even think about it. This is insane. I've never seen so many soul masters in one place. It's a little scary, to be honest. The Spirit Hall, the Clear Sky School, the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan, the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile School, the Heaven Do Imperial Family, the Star Luo Imperial Family, practically every major power on the continent is here. Even a titled Douluo's wedding wouldn't be this big. Zhou Yi might not be a powerhouse, but his influence on the Soul Master world is greater than any titled Douluo. Zhou Yi's sword theories are incredible. No wonder even Sword Douluo is impressed. I'm tempted to become his student. Look. It's the Spirit Hall's Holy Maiden. She's stunning. Wow, my heart just skipped a beat. The Clear Sky School is here too. Those must be the Clear Sky Twins. They look so tough. Why do they look so miserable, though? I want to know who the elegant goddess next to them is. I heard the Clear Sky Twins have a younger sister. That must be her. So elegant and beautiful. As one heavyweight after another appeared, the assembled soul masters were awestruck. 99% of soul masters would never see the likes of the Clear Sky Twins or the Spirit Hall's Holy Maiden in their entire lives. The groom is here. And Mrs. Lu, someone shouted, and all eyes turned to Zhou Yi and Lu Erlong. Zhou Yi, head held high, chest out, strolled forward with a gentle, spring-like smile on his face. Lu Erlong looked radiant, glowing with happiness. She wasn't jealous as some suspected she might be. Mrs. Lu is beautiful. She's so open-minded and classy. That's how you should act when you share a husband. Yeah, she's not faking that smile. She's genuinely happy. Seeing Lu Erlong's mature and intoxicating aura, countless soul masters were filled with envy, jealousy, and admiration. Zhou Yi thought to himself, you think my efforts last night were for nothing? Thank you all for coming to celebrate my wedding with A Yin. Eat, drink, and be merry. Zhou Yi and Lu Erlong greeted the guests. That's Zhou Yi, he really is handsome. Tang Yuehua, sitting next to heavily drinking Tang Xiao and Tang Hao, looked at Zhou Yi with curious, captivating eyes. After arriving in Nodding City and meeting up with her brothers, Tang Yuehua realized they had lost their spark and looked completely defeated. She soon learned they both had feelings for A Yin, but A Yin was marrying Zhou Yi. Tang Yuehua considered her brothers to be powerful. But in the realm of love, they'd been crushed by Zhou Yi. They couldn't even win over a woman. Seeing Zhou Yi's appearance and demeanor, Tang Yuehua understood her brother's defeat. Zhou Yi truly was handsome, he had a special aura, one that was very attractive to women. No wonder Tang Xiao and Tang Hao stood no chance. Soon, the auspicious hour arrived. Lu Erlong led A Yin, dressed in a rich gown with a red veil covering her face, forward slowly. The atmosphere reached a fever pitch. A Yin's face was hidden, but her figure and glimpses of fair skin hinted at the stunning beauty beneath the veil. Tang Xiao and Tang Hao stared at A Yin, the bride, especially beautiful today. Sadly, that beauty was not for them, but only for Zhou Yi. Gulp. Gulp. They drank heavily, they just wanted to drown their sorrows, but the wine only amplified their pain. They weren't the only heartbroken ones. Flanders sat quietly in a corner, watching Lu Erlong, mature and radiant, greeting guests for Zhou Yi. It hurt so much he could barely breathe. What a wonderful woman. Zhou Yi didn't deserve her, and now he was marrying another. What a jerk. Sob. Flanders wept, crying his eyes out. They say men don't cry easily, but he'd reached his breaking point. He wasn't alone tonight. Two more broken hearts, Tang Xiao and Tang Hao, and there would be others. The ceremony concluded. A Yin was taken to the bridal chamber. Zhou Yi stayed behind to toast the guests. He approached Tang Xiao and Tang Hao's table and his eyes lit up when he saw Tang Yuehua. Tang Yuehua wasn't the most beautiful woman, but her demeanor was special and made people want her to have their baby. Brother Xiao, Brother Hao. Zhou Yi greeted them and looked at Tang Yuehua. This must be Miss Tang. She's beautiful and has a remarkable presence. You're too kind, Mr. Zhou. Tang Yuehua stood up, elegant and intelligent, and smiled slightly. Congratulations to Mr. Zhou and Miss A Yin. May you have a happy wedding and a blissful marriage. Thank you. Brother Zhou, I wish you and A Yin everlasting love and happiness. Tang Xiao and Tang Hao offered their congratulations with sadness in their eyes. They didn't want to show any weakness in front of Zhou Yi. Thank you, I'll drink to that. Zhou Yi downed a glass with Tang Xiao, Tang Hao, and Tang Yuehua. Then, under Bibi Dong's resentful gaze, he turned and confidently headed to the bridal chamber. The bridal chamber was draped in red silk, lit by the glow of red candles. A Yin sat quietly, her face hidden by the red veil. Although she and Zhou Yi had been intimate, she still felt nervous and shy. Zhou Yi stepped forward, excitement bubbling within him, and lifted A Yin's red veil. Beneath the veil, A Yin's beautiful face looked especially charming in the candlelight. Her eyes were filled with shyness, and her fair cheeks were flushed, making Zhou Yi even more infatuated and warm. Even though they'd been intimate countless times before, tonight, at this special moment, the feeling and atmosphere were completely different. Zhou Yi picked up 2 wine glasses and shared a drink with A Yin. Husband. The sound of that word almost made Zhou Yi explode. Whether it was the alcohol or her shyness, A Yin's face grew rosier and more captivating, especially beautiful and alluring. Bang. He threw down the wine glass, shattering it on the floor. Gazing at A Yin's increasingly enchanting face, Zhou Yi pulled her into his arms. The red candle burned brightly, its flame danced, and drops of red wax slid down the side, like the happy tears of a newlywed wife. The night was enchanting and romantic. Remarks on the launch. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Okay, everyone, this is the fastest any of my books have ever hit the shelves, but that's just how QQ reading works. Usually, they let you publish after 50,000 words, and I made it at 60,000. Now that it's published, you'll need a subscription to keep reading. QQ reading members can read it for free, of course. If you're not a member, you can subscribe as usual. Enough whining from me. If you're enjoying the story, please show your support. Subscribe, add it to your collection, vote, and recommend it to others. I'll be posting extra chapters today. Chapter 27 Long Live, Tang Yuehua was captured by flower pickers. Please subscribe. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Man, Ah Yin must be over the moon, right? Tang Hao and Tang Xiao were practically inhaling their drinks, trying to drown out the image of Ah Yin with Zhou Yi at the wedding, downing cup after cup, chugging pot after pot. Guys, seriously, you gotta stop. You're both hammered. Tang Yuehua, seeing them still going at it despite being clearly drunk, tried to intervene. I'm not, drunk. Drink. Drunk, feels good, that they just kept drinking to themselves. Tang Yuehua reached for their wine, but they both collapsed to the ground in a drunken heap. Oh, brother, Tang Yuehua sighed. She wanted to get Tang Qi to help her haul Tang Xiao and Tang Hao back to the hotel, but Tang Qi was in even worse shape. Tang Qi was the bodyguard Tang Ao had assigned to Tang Yuehua, a soul saint-level cultivator. He was just a distant relative in the Ah Yin sect, nothing special, but outside. He was hot stuff. Soul masters were all over him, offering toasts and endless flattery. Tang Qi, loving the attention, totally let loose and drank way too much. What else could she do? Tang Yuehua had to get 2 servants to help her drag Tang Xiao and Tang Hao out of the Zhou mansion and back to the hotel. By this point, it was late, the streets were mostly empty. Even though Notting City was packed with soul masters for the wedding, most of them were still at Zhou mansion or passed out in their inns. However, Tang Yuehua didn't notice the tall, skinny guy, like a walking stick, quietly tailing her from the Zhou mansion. Once outside, this creep hid in the shadows, pulled up a black scarf, and hurried after her. His name was Luo Jifan, a level 72 soul saint. His spirit was a needle, and he was a serious pervert. He'd preyed on countless women in secret, but his power kept him untouchable. No one even knew what he was up to. Seeing Zhou Yi marry a total knockout like Lu Erlong, he was green with envy and filled with lust, but the Zhou mansion was full of powerful people, including Sword Douluo himself. He wouldn't dare try anything there. When Tang Yuehua left, he suddenly saw an opportunity. So what if she was from the Ah Yin sect? As long as he was discreet, who would know it was him? And even if they did, what could the Ah Yin sect do to him way out here? He followed them all the way. Finally, as Tang Yuehua and her group passed through a dark alley, Luo Jifan made his move. He activated his spirit, and his 7 soul rings blazed to life. A soul saint, Tang Yuehua gasped, I'm with the Ah Yin sect. How dare you? I've got a needle that can fix mountains and seas. Before she could finish, Luo Jifan unleashed his soul skill, firing thousands of pink needles from the light. Like a storm of rose petals, the needles hit Tang Yuehua, Tang Xiao, Tang Hao, and the 2 servants, their bodies shaking as they felt their strength draining away. You bastard! Tang Yuehua started to yell, but Luo Jifan stuffed a gag in her mouth and threw a sack over her head. Then, he grabbed her and vanished into the night. The whole thing took less than 3 seconds, smooth as silk. He'd clearly done this before. He killed the 2 servants instantly. As for Tang Xiao and Tang Hao, they were strong, plus, they were the Ah Yin twins. Luo Jifan didn't want to start a war with the Ah Yin sect, so he left them alive, but the needles he used weren't harmless. They weren't even painful or lethal. They were a super powerful aphrodisiac. This was Luo Jifan's 5th soul skill. He'd gotten it from hunting a 1,000-year-old purple-eyed silver python, and he used it on women to devastating effect. So hot. Tang Hao and Tang Xiao, already exhausted and drunk, didn't even realize they'd been drugged. They started tearing at their clothes and then, without thinking, started groping each other. It was not a pretty sight. Luckily, Notting City was full of people that night, and some folks were heading home. Someone soon found Tang Hao, Tang Xiao, and the 2 dead servants. When the news reached Tang Qi, the shock sobered him up instantly. Seeing Tang Xiao and Tang Hao out of their minds from the poison, he had to pay some women to sleep with them to detoxify them, but Tang Yuehua's disappearance sent him into a panic. It was obvious. Given Tang Xiao and Tang Hao's condition, Tang Yuehua had been kidnapped by some sex fiend. Tang Qi had no choice but to beg for help, calling on everyone he could to search for her. In a flash, Notting City was in chaos. Honey, something's happened. Lu Erlong hurried outside the bridal chamber and knocked softly, her voice full of worry. Coming. Looking at Ah Yin, still sound asleep, Zhou Yi slipped out and gently closed the door. Seeing Lu Erlong's worried face, he asked, What is it? Honey, I just found out that the Haotian sect's Miss Tang was kidnapped on the way back. Tang Hao and Tang Hao were poisoned, and 2 of our servants are dead, Lu Erlong said quickly. Tang Yuehua kidnapped. Tang Hao and Tang Hao dosed with an aphrodisiac, Zhou Yi was stunned, he'd barely finished sleeping with Ah Yin, and now this. Erlong, stay here and watch Ah Yin. Don't go out. I'll go look for her, Zhou Yi decided instantly. It would be a tragedy if a beauty like Tang Yuehua was ruined by some creep. Besides, as the host, he had a responsibility. He wanted to find out who was crazy enough to cause trouble on his wedding night. Honey, be careful. The guy's probably strong, Lu Erlong said worriedly. Don't worry. You know how powerful I am, he squeezed Lu Erlong's cheek, gave her a reassuring look, and headed out. Every second counted. Tang Yuehua was in danger. Teacher, the city lord's mansion has sent everyone out for a door-to-door search. We've also deployed all available personnel, along with other soul masters. Many are searching on their own, but there's no news yet, Yu Xiaojiang reported. I know. Keep looking. Yes, teacher, Zhou Yi frowned and thought about using Qingdong to get outside the city. There were so many soul masters in the city, if the kidnapper was still inside, he should be found quickly. Nodding City wasn't that big, after all, but if he'd left the city, it would be tough. He activated his wings of wind and thunder, flew into the air, and used his powerful senses and vision to scan the area. He knew every plant and tree around Nodding City, having lived 2 lives. His mental strength and eyesight were already far superior to those of other soul masters. But he was still limited by the darkness of night. His range was limited. Give me more. Damn it. Chapter 28 The Flower Picker. How disgusting it is to make wedding clothes for others. Please subscr. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Holy crap, Zhou Yi dumped all 5,000 experience points he'd saved up over the past 2 weeks into Jingmu Jie, a peerless magical skill. Jingmu Jie uses a chilling gaze to seize hearts and exert power through the eyes. A single look can crush weaker opponents. Even those on equal footing would find Jingmu Jie terrifying. It's primarily a magical attack, sure, but the side effects are just as potent, things like enhanced vision and illusion detection, mere byproducts, but still leagues ahead of Tang San's purple demon eye. Zhou Yi's consciousness plunged across time and space, landing on a masked figure carved from ice. He could distinctly feel the man's training, gaining a deeper understanding of Jingmu Jie with each passing moment. Day in, day out, year after year, after what felt like an eternity, Zhou Yi snapped back to reality. 2 brilliant beams of light shot from his eyes in the darkness, like twin suns, breathtaking. Though his mind had experienced a long journey, only a moment had passed in the outside world. Unbelievable, Zhou Yi's eyes had undergone a massive transformation. His vision was magnified 100-fold, turning night into day. He could see incredibly far. With a whir, Zhou Yi spread his foam-lay wings and soared hundreds of meters into the air, looking down over all of Nodding City. Even an ant was visible in the dark below. Huh, you sneaky thief, your goose is cooked. Soon, Zhou Yi's gaze locked onto the forest a kilometer outside Nodding City. A dark figure was sprinting through the trees, clutching a large black bag. Without Zhou Yi's enhanced vision, he would have disappeared in the night. This guy almost got away with it. Wings buzzing, Zhou Yi gave chase. The Haotian sect's eldest daughter. She'll be my plaything soon enough. Luo Zhifan grinned as Tang Yuehua squirmed in the black bag. He'd been a little worried before leaving the city, but now he was deep in the woods, under the cover of total darkness. Not even a titled Douluo could find him. All he needed was a secluded spot to enjoy his prize. From above, Zhou Yi wasn't in a hurry to intervene. He noticed the other guy's route wasn't random, it was pre-planned. Zhou Yi decided to scout out the guy's hideout first. He might have accomplices. After a while, Luo Zhifan reached a secluded cave. It was so well hidden that it was hard to find even during the day. Looks like this is his base, Zhou Yi thought to himself. He silently descended, slipping into the cave like a stroll in the park. The entrance was narrow, but it soon opened up. After a few dozen steps, he found himself in a cave about 50 square meters. It was pretty basic. A huge stone bed in the middle was the only thing in it. covered with brand new bedding. Luo Zhifan had only stumbled upon it recently, not long ago. In fact, he hadn't been operating in this area before, or, maybe the arrival of Zhou Yi had attracted him. Luo Zhifan dumped the black bag on the bed, opened it, and revealed Tang Yuehua, her cheeks flushed, her eyes filled with resentment. Rip. Luo Zhifan ripped off the gag. If you touch me, the Ah Yin sect will hunt you down. You won't escape, not on earth, not in heaven. Tang Yuehua's noble circle barely kept her sane. Her beautiful eyes glared at Luo Zhifan. I didn't see your face. If you let me go now, I might forget this ever happened. Huh, let you go? Luo Zhifan wasn't in a rush to devour his prize. He gazed at Tang Yuehua with interest. TSK, what a figure, what looks, what class. You really are the Ah Yin sect's #1 lady. Any man would be lucky to have one night alone with you. It would be worth dying for. Don't worry, I won't lay a hand on you. Luo Zhifan stepped closer, and Tang Yuehua desperately tried to back away, but she couldn't muster the strength. I won't touch you, because you'll be begging for it soon. When the drug really kicks in, you'll overcome its effects and barely regain the strength of an ordinary person. Hee. You're despicable. Tang Yuehua was mortified and furious, wishing she could just die. Then, her blurred eyes widened in disbelief, and then, a huge wave of joy filled her mind. She opened her mouth, but quickly clamped it shut to keep from making a sound. She even tried to control her expression, but Luo Zhifan noticed something was off and instantly became alert. He activated his martial spirit and spun around. Handsome young man in a bright red outfit stood there. It was Zhou Yi. His face was impassive, a hint of a smirk on his lips as he looked at Luo Zhifan. Not bad. You deserve a gold star for effort. Luo Zhifan was startled and quickly glanced behind Zhou Yi. He wasn't even concerned about Zhou Yi, who was just a soul master. He was afraid of Zhou Yi's second apprentice, Sword Douluo. Relax, I came alone. Zhou Yi smiled. I'm more than enough to deal with a lowlife like you. Arrogant. Luo Zhifan was relieved at first, then furious at Zhou Yi's words. A little soul master daring to look down on him. Who did this kid think he was? Tang Yuehua was completely confused. What was Zhou Yi playing at? He could have made a sneak attack earlier, but didn't. He could have pretended a strongman was nearby, but straight up told the guy he was alone. Did Zhou Yi really think he could handle Luo Zhifan? Zhou Yi, be careful, he's a soul saint. Tang Yuehua shouted the warning. Kid, scared now? You think just because you tricked Sword Douluo into being your disciple, you're invincible? Luo Zhifan ignored Tang Yuehua. He cracked his knuckles and glared at Zhou Yi with a ferocious smile. Your theories and your tricks are useless here. Don't worry, I'll take good care of your two beautiful wives after you're gone. Pathetic. Zhou Yi was calm as could be. Have you ever seen a sword cut off a lifetime? As soon as the words left Zhou Yi's mouth, a sword light flashed through the sky. There are no words to describe the brilliance of this strike. It's as if the world contains only the sword, and as soon as it materialized, it stole everyone's attention. There wasn't anything else, and there was no place for anything else. Under this sword, Luo Zhifan's soul power and martial soul were sheared like water by the sword light. The sword sailed through the air like a hot knife through butter. Luo Zhifan's smile froze and he stood there in a daze. After a while, aha! His body was neatly divided in half. Tang Yuehua trembled, her small mouth gaped in shock and disbelief. Did he just kill a soul saint with one strike? Could that be possible? Her heart was ripped apart by the stunning sword, and it left a brand she would never forget. Luo Zhifan was dead, but the poison he'd given Tang Yuehua was still running its course. Because Zhou Yi had penetrated Tang Yuehua's mind with his sword, he was poisonous. Chapter 29 Tang Hao regrets, is he worse than a beast? Ask for monthly ticket. You are listening at novelfull.audio. You went down before I even touched you. Man, it's lonely at the top. Zhou Yi watched Luo Zhifan fall in two, his wounds clean. 16 years in Douluo Continent, and this wasn't his first kill, but it was the first since he got the system. Easy, no sweat. Ugh. Suddenly, a soft body stumbled into his arms. Perfume filled the air, and Zhou Yi instinctively held the woman. It was Tang Yuehua. She'd been holding back the poison with her will and the noble circle of talent domain, but Zhou Yi's epic sword shattered her focus. The poison hit her hard, already weak. She suddenly surged with strength, instinctively reaching for Zhou Yi. To her, Zhou Yi radiated light and warmth. Drawing her in, she writhed against him, her clear eyes full of springtime longing. Her slightly parted lips made her look like a drowning mermaid. She gulped air in Zhou Yi's arms. She's been poisoned. Finally, the classic trope, looking at the captivating Tang Yuehua, Zhou Yi had a serious decision to make. Am I a monster, or worse than a monster? Zhou Yi was a pro at detox. Seriously. He practically had a medical degree. Ugh. Tang Yuehua moaned, helping Zhou Yi make up his mind. The original story always hinted that the relationship between them wasn't normal, some serious Oedipal stuff. He couldn't let his brother make that kind of mistake. He'd have to take one for the team and nip this in the bud, like Yu Xiaojiang and Lu Erlong. Ugh. Damn. Zhou Yi felt a mix of anger and something like excitement. Ms. Tang, I'm not taking advantage of you. You came to me. I'm just trying to detox you. Righteously, Zhou Yi swept Tang Yuehua into a princess carry and laid her on the clean bed Luo Zhifan had prepared. What a guy. If he knew Luo Zhifan was so thoughtful, he would have left him in one piece, nodding city. Yuehua, where are you? Get out here, you creep. When Tang Xiao and Tang Hao recovered from their own poisoning, they found out Tang Yuehua had been kidnapped by some kind of scumbag. They threw on their clothes and began desperately searching, but Tang Yuehua was nowhere to be found. It's my fault. If I hadn't had so much to drink, Yuehua wouldn't be. Tang Hao slammed his fist on the ground, consumed by heartache and regret. Tang Xiao felt the same. His goddess was marrying someone else. Now his sister had been kidnapped. The Yin twins were cracking. Tang Qi was the most panicked. As a guard, he'd let Tang Yuehua get snatched. He was toast. It had been half an hour since the kidnapping. That was plenty of time. Even if Tang Yuehua was still alive, her reputation was probably ruined. He was dead meat. Nodding City was in chaos. Sleep was not an option for anyone tonight. Can you believe some creep snatched Miss Yin sect? The audacity. I heard the Yin twins got dosed with aphrodisiacs too. If they hadn't caught it in time, they would have put on a show in the street. Damn. This guy is creative. How long do you think he can hold out against the Yin sect? Doesn't matter, Tang Yuehua is probably a goner anyway. Even if they catch him, it was worth it. Yeah, might as well die happy. I saw Miss Yuehua once. She's got class and elegance. I'd give anything for one night with her. You're making bank, dying like that. Heard Mr. Zhou left town to search for her. Mr. Zhou is a saint. He has a decorated wedding room, but he gets up to look for someone. Soul Masters were buzzing. This was major news, Miss Yuehua and a kidnapper. This was the peak of gossip. Zhou Manor. Ah Yin woke up and learned Tang Yuehua was kidnapped. Zhou Yi had gone out to search, but there was no news. I am afraid that my husband is out of town. It is late at night. Lu Erlong was worried. Zhou Yi was resourceful, but weaker than her. Don't worry, sister. Hubby's got tricks, and a soul bone, wind and thunder wings. He's fast. Even if he can't win, he can get away. Ah Yin comforted her. Okay. Lu Erlong nodded. There was nothing they could do. If they got snatched up too, it would only create more chaos for Zhou Yi. Wuhuan Hall branch. Zhou Douluo twirled a chrysanthemum in his hand, saying with interest. The Yin sect has taken a big hit. If the Wuhuan Hall and Yin sect weren't enemies, he wouldn't help them find Tang Yuehua. Besides, he was there to protect Bibi Dong, though nobody would dare to target the saint of Wuhuan Hall. But you never knew. Tang Yuehua's kidnapping put him on edge. If Bibi Dong got nabbed, all hell would break loose. Maybe Zhou Yi can get Tang Yuehua back. Bibi Dong said. No way. Zhou Douluo disagreed. The kidnapper is probably already out of the city. Zhou Yi will never find him. Besides, this guy isn't weak. He's probably a soul emperor or higher. Zhou Douluo paused, looking annoyed. He remembered Zhou Yi's sword from before. It had taken him 10 days to get rid of that sword intent, and Zhou Yi hadn't even been using his full strength. If he had, Zhou Douluo could have blocked it, but a soul emperor was finished, and even a soul saint would be in trouble. This creep probably wasn't a contra-level master. Bibi Dong didn't push it, saying Zhou Yi could find her was just a hunch. But Bibi Dong was usually right. Zhou Yi did find Tang Yuehua. And he was personally handling the detoxification. Tang Yuehua was cured, she was awake, but the atmosphere in the stone room was thick with tension. Zhou Yi and Tang Yuehua were still in. Tang Yuehua had her eyes tightly shut, avoiding Zhou Yi's gaze.